I'm going to talk briefly about finding words in context. This is a skill you've been doing since grade school and since you first started learning language. This is what you learned to do when you were a toddler and you were going ma 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 ba 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 da da da. That you were just realizing sounds were associated with a certain context. You'd heard them over and over again. Craziness. So I want to just give a few examples from here. Things that might not make obvious sense. So let's look at some words that might be challenging in this text. Gray unrest. Now, unrest you've probably heard, but think about the context of this and think about how these words support each other. Gray unrest is moving across the land. You know that rest is when you're nice and peaceful and happy and not taking an exam. Unrest is when things are disturbed and not right. Gray, you already have a mood together, so think collectively what gray unrest would be a feeling of sort of dark restlessness that is coming out of you. Let's find something else here. I mentioned again fatality. Now we have a root here, fatal. Fatal is what happens when you die. If you say there's a fatality, you might say someone died. If something's fatal, like you're shot, and you'd say that's a fatal injury, it's an injury that can kill you. But most importantly, we have the word fate. And you can listen for sounds when you break down a language. Fate is sort of like your destiny, the things that come your way. Sometimes you run into words that you've seen before, like polar. I don't think she's saying she is in the North Pole. I don't think she's near Santa Claus. I think a polar realm, this present island, would be someplace cold. Polar could be metaphorical. Just think logically, like, is she in the North Pole or something? And try to give context for what's doing. Averting. Okay, so if I'm going to avert something, what could that mean? Well, we see it's paired with foreseeing. Now, foreseeing means seeing something before it happens. That involves prediction. So predicting change and averting change. It would be something that would be paired with this. It has that word avert to it, that sound. Is there another word that has that beginning that might work? I would say the word avoiding could be doing that. So for predicting and avoiding change, would that be something we can do? Yeah, it sounds like it's probably a word similar to avoiding. Let's look up for one more word here. Insistence. And I'm sure this is a common enough word, you've probably heard it, but if you insist on something, you will make it happen. So the whine of weather, the kind of picture of weather whining like a, are we there yet? Are we there yet? kind of child, that there's something very demanding and very clear about this whine of weather that it's saying, like, you will do this. Imagine the weather screaming at you through a keyhole, basically, telling you this is what to do. So that's just a general example of how I'm doing context clues as I'm reading. I'm going to do more of them as we go on, but this is something to keep remembering.